So I just wanted to do a tool bag review. This is the tool bag I carry with me um, every day. I do a lot of inspection and testing and things like that. I don't do a lot of heavy repair. I might do some electrical diagnostics and things like that. You never know what you're going to run into. My electrical diagnostic kit for complicated stuff is quite a bit more complex than this. This is just my everyday carry bag. Um, the reason it's so small, in all honesty, is because I like it to fit in my backpack. I take my backpack with my laptop and everything else I have to take with me to work um, every day, and this can just live in there, which is nice because if you get a call in the field and you need to go somewhere, do some quick troubleshooting, some quick inspection, whatever the case may be, you have most things that you're going to need. I keep a whole bigger set in the car also, but this is just much easier to carry around. And it works for almost everything. So I'm going to go over what I have. Hopefully I can cover the reasons I have it. And if anybody has any things they think can improve this set, I'd love to hear it. I've tried a lot of stuff. I like it to fit in this bag, which is one of my main requirements. I've tried a lot of other things, tool rolls. This just seems to work for me. To me, this looks like a lunchbox. It actually is an old multimeter case. And inside, I'm going to kind of shift this over to the side here. I got some stuff up here. We'll talk about that later. I'll pull it out. Just a regular Klein 11-in-1. I have taken out the Robertson bit and replaced it with this Klein Combi bit, which you can get on Home Depot or Klein's website. This is much more useful than the Robertson for me. Otherwise it's just a standard Klein 11-in-1. I would much prefer this over almost any screwdriver. I love this thing. The only time that I get into trouble is if there's blind holes that you need to get into. Sometimes, almost all the time, this thing doesn't have the clearance. The circumference is too wide, or the diameter is too wide, and it doesn't reach down in there. But most of the time, this works pretty well. So this is my main choice for screwdriver. I've been going through different crescent wrenches. This is my latest one I bought. This is just an actual crescent wrench. This is a new design. Personally, I'm not very impressed with it. It lives in the bag until I find something I like better. It's got to be a crescent wrench because it's got to take the form of all the wrenches. I've tried some other ones. I had an older crescent wrench that I liked better than this newer one, an actual crescent wrench. I liked it a lot better. This one is just a little sloppy to me. It does have these kind of serrated jaws, which is interesting. Haven't really had a whole lot of experience with it to know if that really helps. It's also pretty small, but it does open pretty wide. Probably not much wider than a standard one, but it's pretty good. I know that there's a couple companies that make some very wide opening ones. I may look into something like that. It'd probably suit my bill pretty good. The main thing is it's got to be fairly small, and it's got to fit in this bag. My favorite electrical pliers, these are some Snap-on, what's the number here? PWCS7, I think that's what it says. So my favorite thing about these is that the crimper is on this end. Almost every pair of those little cheap ones, you get the crimpers back here. So you strip the wire, and then when you need to get into an area that has low clearance to crimp it, you can't because the crimper's back here. So you're trying to fish this thing up through a bundle and get in there and crimp a wire. It's just a pain. These are way better. Way better. The ones on Amazon that you can buy, there's a knockoff of this. They're okay. I have a set of those too. You will not go wrong with the Snap-on ones. They feel way better in your hand. I can put every bit of power into this and it doesn't barely flex. You know it's going to work. With the other ones, those knockoff ones, I can really, put some force into this, like if I was crimping something, and I can feel them flex a lot more. And I just don't like the way it feels. So I like these. These have never let me down. I like them a lot. Another Klein multi screwdriver. This one doesn't have as many tips. It's just got a Phillips and a flat in 2 different sizes. What I do like about it is that you can flip this around and get into those holes that I talked about this one won't get into. Usually this will get in there. Sometimes the screwdriver head is too small, but generally it works out. Especially with electrical terminals and stuff like that, this will work pretty good. I like that it is a standard like jeweler screwdriver style, so if I need to do a lot of small precision work, it'll work for that. You need to clip it in your pocket while you're doing stuff. It's nice. And then it has this feature where if you're trying to start a screw, you can slide this forward, cover the head, and then this magnetized will hold the screw, and you can kind of get it in there and the head won't fall off there while you're trying to get it, fish it in wherever you're trying to get it. Start the screw, back that off, and finish it off. This thing works pretty good. Honestly, I probably never used this feature. I guess it's good if you need it. I've never used it. Sounds cool though. Sharpie, just a regular old Sharpie with a fine tip on the back. It's nice to have both. Some, I want to say channel locks, but that's not exactly what they are. It's kind of that new style. I guess Knipex is calling them Cobras. Everybody's got their own sort of name for these. These ones are kind of neat. You can use them single-handed. So if you wanted to start out and you're going to grab something and you don't exactly know where to put it size-wise, you can just open it all the way up, put this little cam out, and then squeeze, and then it'll adjust. You kind of back off a little bit, flip that down, and then it locks into place. You can use it with this down, but it actually reduces the amount of force because it changes the fulcrum point. So I end up flipping it back. I just got these two. So far, I like them pretty well for their size. I mean, I can't compare them to the Knipex because I don't have the Knipex. The Cobras, I think, would be the closest thing. But I really like them. It's also kind of got this interesting little notch cut in the front, which if you're trying to hold something small, has been kind of handy. I've only used it once for that, but it's kind of nifty. So hopefully these prove good. Maybe I'll do a better review of them later. A very well used Klein insulated screwdriver. This is a straight, and this thing gets a lot of use. I like this screwdriver a lot. Not necessarily because it's insulated, it's just a very good shape. It handles a lot of torque really well. If I am using it in electrical boxes and stuff, I don't have to worry because it's insulated. If something might be cross-talking over there, maybe I'm working on a low voltage circuit, I'm not so much worried about getting shocked, but more worried about crosstalk or something. Sometimes you got to do that on live stuff. It works good. Sometimes you need to pull an O-ring off of a spool or something. This head works pretty well. It won't focus. But anyways, it's a good shape. A tape measure. This one in particular also does circumference, which is kind of nifty. I wish it had a combo metric, but it doesn't. If I could find one that did circumference and combo metric and was small, maybe I'd get one, change it out. This is not a tape measure, although it was a tape measure. I have just put string in it, took it apart and put string. There's so many times where you want to do something and you need to take a measurement. You do a plumb bob or whatever the case may be. Just having a bit of string handy is great. So that's what I keep this around. I keep a number of little pieces to go with it in here as well. Some magnets here that I can attach to things to add as standoffs or go from the end of one point to another point and then measure off of it. A level, it's a regular old construction level for string. So this is the newest edition. So far, these have been pretty nice. I like these a lot. These are the 7-inch new adjustable slip joint needle nose that Snap-on has. These are great. I can't tell you how many times you go to use a standard set of needle nose and you're trying to grab something that's fairly wide and the jaws are at such an angle that whatever it is wants to pop out. But with these, you can open the jaws up and now they're still relatively parallel, even about an inch wide. Super, super handy. I'm sure you guys have seen the videos on picking up dimes and stuff. No, nobody cares about that. Nobody's picking up dimes. But they do work really good for your general work. You'll like these. They're not cheap, but you'll like them. Here is a knockoff crescent wrench. I always keep two. One, sometimes you got a nut and a bolt. This one is not as nice as the other. It's just a cheap Chinesium one. Paint stick. A 90-degree pick. Use this quite often for O-rings, cleaning out some threads and stuff like that filled with, whatever the crap is in them. Have a pick with you. You never know when you're going to need it. I personally like the 90 and the one that's like bent 3 different ways, like 3 different 45s. That one's pretty handy too. I honestly kind of like that one better, but I found myself needing this one more often, so. I have an inspection light. Gotta have lights. You never know when you're going to be needing to get in somewhere. And look at something. I have these two really, really crappy Harbor Freight Allen key sets. These need changed out. These things suck. I need Allen keys. I like the folding ones, but these Harbor Freight ones, don't waste your money. A small set of vice grips. This is an old Craftsman set. You never know when you're going to need a set of vice grips. I personally like these a lot. A small ruler. This is a flexible steel rule. I know there's a tape measure in here, but when working with certain things, you like to have a steel rule. A silver Sharpie. Never know what you're marking on. Sometimes the black won't show up. Have a silver one. This is kind of just something I threw together. It is quite literally just a hammer. It just breaks down. Just a piece of stock with some threads on it. You need to give something a little bit of encouragement. You have that option. Getting into the last of the things. A Klein angle gauge, digital angle gauge. This comes in handy quite often. I wish that I had got the one with the laser. I didn't know they made one. So maybe I'll change this one out with the laser one eventually, but that's where we're at. Getting into the last few items, I have a very small Craftsman multimeter. Not a huge amount of functionality. Obviously, there's no like high current. Well, I'll say high current, but 10 amp current. This just has milliamps, ohms, voltage, and hertz. That's pretty much what I use most of the time. I will say I've ran into some weird things where this thing definitely isn't the same quality as something that's like a Fluke, which is my normal meter. Like stuff that's when I'm running high frequency, voltage will be odd. They'll be like off. But for most things, this works great. It's very, very handy to have. The thing that I run into more often than not is that the leads are too short. It's got these tiny little leads on it. But generally it works. So I keep it. I keep using it. There's no room for a bigger meter. A small socket and driver set. Honestly, I'll probably end up replacing this with just the sockets and driver. I don't care for this style of driver that comes in this. Comes in a lot of these sets nowadays that has the driver that's for the actual screwdriver bits, and then you add in a 1/4 inch ratchet adapter to be able to drive sockets. I personally don't like that. I just want it to be a ratchet. Um, and in this case, they had two different sizes. There's two different ones. Why didn't they put one with a 1/4 inch? I have no idea, but they didn't. So eventually, if I find something that is this form factor, I'll replace it. And last but not least, a very cheap Harbor Freight 4-inch dial caliper. Not dial caliper, digital caliper. And the spare battery appears to have jumped out and floated away. And that's about it. This suits me for most of the things I do. I keep a small, I guess I'm not quite it. There's also a file in here. This is a guarded file, so it has, you know, smooth edges. So this edge is a file, and then these two edges are smooth, and then on the opposite side, it is the opposite way. These two edges are files, and these two edges are smooth. You never know when you're trying to get in somewhere, and you need to get that sharp corner, guard one area and file another. This file has been very handy. And then here's that Robertson bit I was talking about earlier. So that's it. That's all that's in there. There's only the other thing that's floating around is some zip ties. If you guys have any comments, let me know. And if you guys post links to tool bags that you've set up, I like to see them. I think it's interesting. Maybe it's just me, but I like to see it.